When I was about 4 years old, my father got a job which involved moving into a house that was in the middle of a golf course. So for as long as I can remember, looking out of my parents' kitchen window, and they're still in the house 57 years later, was looking down the 7th fairway of the Batchwood Hall golf course in St Albans.
How did you actually pick up the game, though? Did you sort of nick a few balls and have a go where nobody was looking? Or?
My first memory that I think is actually finding a golf ball, and I think it was a Spitfire, which was a recovered golf ball, and discovering, I must have been about 5 or 6 at that stage, that I could actually sell these and make a few pennies. So that was really my first introduction to golf, was finding golf balls. And then you walk around the edge of the golf course and you find a golf club somewhere and you just start hitting balls and you play.
Now, of course, in those days, certainly compared to today, it was what some people refer to as an elitist sport, wasn't it? You had to be a member of a club and, I'm sure for juniors it was pretty difficult too, wasn't it?
Well, I was fortunate because Batchwood Hall was a public golf course owned by the city of St Albans, which has quite a bit of history with golf because Samuel Ryder of Ryder Cup fame was a very successful businessman in St Albans in the early part of the 20th century. So I guess there was a reference to golf, and an estate became available in the 1930s. The council, in their wisdom, built a public golf course. And I can remember, for me, as a season ticket holder, as a junior, it was the princely sum of £1.10 for a year's golf. So that's hardly elitist.
Wow. No, hardly.
Yes.
It has changed, of course, and Hong Kong is, what we'll be talking about very shortly. But you've played in a few tournaments yourself over the years, haven't you? I
have played a little bit. I played the Asia circuit back in the late 70s, early 80s when I came to Hong Kong. Represented Hong Kong in 1985 in the Dunhill Cup final, which was probably one of the highlights of my golfing career as a player. Played in 2 World Cups, 1980, 1983, and won the Hong Kong PGA Championship in 1982.
So what did bring you here in the first place from St Albans then?
I'd got married in 1972. Mid-70s in the UK was not a great time economically, and looking for a better opportunity. By this time, I was an assistant pro at Batchwood Hall, and I'd done my time, been through my PGA training, and was looking around for a job opportunity. And I saw an advert in the Golf Illustrated magazine. The Royal Hong Kong Golf Club, as it was then, were looking for an assistant pro to be a teacher. And I applied. And Joe Hardwick, who was the long-time pro at the Hong Kong Golf Club, was in the UK, and he interviewed several of us at the old PGCA headquarters in Putney. And I was offered the job after he'd met my wife, Monica. I was offered the job. And he still tells me the reason I got the job was because of Monica.
Okay. It wasn't, because he did set some conditions about, what was it? Must be married, non-smoker.
Had to be married, a non-drinker, and didn't particularly want to be a tournament pro. They wanted somebody to teach, and actually the position as pro at Deepwater Bay. And I worked there from 1975 to 1982.
And you're also involved with the Hong Kong GA, I think, for a certain extent.
During that time, yes, I was national coach for the Hong Kong GA. I also did some work a little bit later with the first Chinese national teams in Chongshan. That was a bit later. That was in the early 90s. And after that, I got involved with the Hong Kong PGA. I was director of their training program for about 10 years.
You must have started off with some of the juniors that have now sort of grown up and quite good players, I would imagine.
Yes, it's quite interesting. Having been around Hong Kong now for, 38 years, there's a lot of very good players who were part of the junior development program that there were at that time, and it was based at Deepwater Bay. There's a couple of golf club general managers went through that program, a couple of golf pros now in Europe. One of the guys through a program that was organised by the German-Swiss school. One of their boys, Dutch boy, became a European Tour player and is now one of the national coaches in Holland. So I think the thing with golf is you have to get access to it. And I think when you're taken to golf through a parent or a friend at a young enough age, the game is presented in a nice, open, friendly manner. It's a game that can stay with you for life.
And of course, not only is it a game, but there are a lot of other things you learn. I mean, you can learn things about yourself, your determination and etiquette and getting on with other people.
Honestly, Peter, it teaches so many things. It teaches honesty, teaches children how to interact with adults, teaches behaviour, how to control your emotions, because really, golf is mostly about missed shots. So how you handle that. I think it's great healthy exercise. One of the things that does sadden me is when I see juniors being taken around a golf course on a golf cart. I think juniors should walk and carry their own clubs. As we get older, I think the walking exercise that golf gives us is fantastic. And of course, most golf courses are in absolutely stunning locations. And we're so lucky in Hong Kong with Khao Sai Chau as a public access facility. It's absolutely stunning. And you go out there, it's a tough golf course to play, but you just walk around and you enjoy the view and the camaraderie of the people that you're with, and you listen to the birds. It's wonderful. Very, very therapeutic.
It's a far cry, though, isn't it, from the days that you're talking about? You know, before we had Khao Sai Chau, there was no public course in Hong Kong, was there?
No, it was very restricted. There was the Royal Hong Kong Golf Club. They had their 3 golf courses at Fan Ling. They had the 9-hole course at Deepwater Bay. Sheko was there then. And I think, if I remember correctly, there was a driving range, or they used to hit golf balls across the football pitch at night at the South China Athletic Association, which they still do in Causeway Bay. And that was all golf was.
And Clearwater Bay, of course, was also a part of it. But that went through its own problems, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Clearwater Bay, they were talking about Clearwater Bay back when I first arrived in 1975, but Clearwater Bay opened in 82, and that had a very tough start. But they came through it very well, and it's now a superb facility. Discovery Bay was opened in, I think, again about 1984. So that really boosted golf and accessibility to golf. And on the back of that, of course, there were more driving ranges opened. There was a very busy one at Waterfall Bay, where Cyberport now is. Then there was City Golf, which is now the Austin Road railway station. So it boomed. It definitely boomed. And there was a lot, because there was more access, more people were able to play.
And you're out of Whitehead, I think.
Yes, I'm now based at Whitehead.
Wuk Kai Shah, sort of Martin Shanway.
Yes, and it's a beautiful driving range down by the water. How long it's going to be there, who knows, but we need to enjoy it while we can.
Well, you touched on Khao Sai Chau a little earlier on, of course. It is the only public facility here in Hong Kong. They've got 3 stunning courses. You've got the North and the South, which were both designed by Gary Player, so there's a world-class designer. And the East course, of course, which is the most recent.
That's right, and that was opened in 1996, if I remember correctly. And that really did change golf for the better. Again, more facilities, more access. And through the junior programs that they've been running and the development programs that the Golf Association now are running, the standard of junior golf has improved enormously. And you can see that in the results that Hong Kong are now producing in things like the Putra Cup and the Nomura Cup. But again, it's about access, it's about giving people the opportunity to get started. And of course, for the kids that do well and they're academically bright, it opens doors to universities in the States and golf scholarships, etc.
Of course, a lot of them do further their career in golf, or if they want to have a career, you know, they sort of head off and do their studying in the States. I mean, I can think of Stephen Lamb, for example, Jason and Shinichi Mizuno and all these kind of people, right?
Yes, and it just moves them another step up the ladder in golf. And it opens doors for them. And whether they become professional golfers really is irrelevant, because it gives them a good start in life. It's a game that they can always come back to. And they always used to say in the old days that a good amateur golfer never had a bad job. So I'm not sure how true that is, but it was pretty sound advice then.
Now, if somebody listening, for example, wanted to have their kid get involved in golf, what sort of ages are you talking about to ideally start?
Well, with the advent of Tiger Woods, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years at Whitehead, you see some really tiny little kids playing golf. And there's 2 or 3 coaches who I know quite well who specialise in coaching youngsters at that age, and they do a great job. Personally, I like coaching kids when they get to about 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. But really, the younger the better. And whatever age you start, people always say, I wished I'd started younger.
Do you see character changes in them, when they've been with you for a while?
Yes, they grow up. They begin to realise eventually that how they perform is about how they do and how they think, how they practice, how they train, how they think about themselves, how they react in certain situations. And I think it's very maturing experiences for them.
Have you ever come across an impossible case?
There's never an impossible case, but there's challenges.
Sure. You reckon anybody could play the game if they
Anybody can play the game. There's a group of people that come down to Whitehead during the week and they have vision impairment. And I think, as a able-bodied person, I suppose, we think golf is difficult. But I look at these people who can hardly see, and some of them are totally blind, and they're hitting the golf ball. Humbling experience. The Khao Sai Chau, they run programs over there for the Special Olympics, and I think kids with Down syndrome and stuff, golf really helps them to come out of themselves, and it gives them a challenge, and it's something that they can do. It's fantastic.
Do you think the time is near now when we're going to see a Hong Kong golfer actually making headlines around the world?
I think that will be somebody who grows up in Hong Kong, learns their golf in Hong Kong, and then moves out of Hong Kong and develops outside. I think the golf is just too small in Hong Kong.
What's the occupancy rate, if you can call it that, at Khao Sai Chow? Now, this is the only public facility, 3 courses, so it's got to be pretty up there, I'd guess.
I believe that they run at over 90% occupancy, which is enormously high for golf courses. And I would think they're running at something like 60,000 rounds a year.
Wow.
Which is a lot of golfers.
Does that suggest then that we could do with another course somewhere? It's a contentious issue with some people, I do know.
Well, people who play golf think golf courses are great places. People who don't play golf criticise golf courses for a variety of reasons. But for a wealthy city of 7 million people, Hong Kong certainly could do with more golf courses, and I know there's a demand there for them.
What about the tournaments? I mean, we've had, of course, quite recently the Hong Kong Open. This is a co-sanctioned event with the European Tour and the Asian Tour. Do you see any more international events coming this way? I mean, there has been talk over the years for an LPGA event, for example.
Again, it all comes down to sponsorship, Peter. It comes down to sponsorship and what the sponsors are looking to get out of their sponsorship money, what they want to get for their dollars. There was an LPGA event in Hong Kong in 1976, Colgate-Palmolive. They played the Eden course at Fanling, and it was won by Judy Rankin.
I mean, there's
so
another
they have
thing.
been here.
Yeah, the Asian girls, I mean, particularly the Koreans, are doing incredibly well now, aren't they?
Fantastic. And, you know, one, who was it? Seri Pak was the first Korean player that went to America, and she broke through and she showed people in Korea that this was possible, and look what's happened. It's fantastic. And I can see the same thing happening with Chinese golfers as has happened in Korea.
We've had a lot of youngsters coming through on the Open here, of course. We had a couple of Chinese young lads.
Yes, we've had young Guan, who qualified for the Masters, which was an amazing thing to do at the age of 14. And then there were the 2 Hong Kong players, Jason Hack and Tim Tang. So and I think there were more Hong Kong players playing in the Open this year than there had been for quite some time, certainly since it became a European Tour event. And, you know, the standards are rising.
Well, thank you, Lee Parker. We've been chatting with over the past few minutes. You've got your own website as well, I think.
LeeParkerGolf.com.